Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts Podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Today, I want to talk about disagreement. Somebody disagrees with you. What if somebody disagrees with you? What if somebody's on the other side of something? How do you handle that? What do you say? Do you get mad? Do you get upset? Do you attack them with every ounce of your being just to hurt their feelings? Or do you just nod your head and say, you know what? I agree to disagree. Well, I want to tackle that today for a couple of reasons. I had a little bit of a scenario that happened earlier this week, and I was pretty blown away at how it unfolded. I saw one person assume that another person felt a certain type of way about them just by looking at them. And this is in a public place. This is not in a place of familiarity. It's just a public park. One person looked at the other person, and that person stormed up to that other person and said, "Hey, you got a problem the way I'm living my life? Do you have a problem?" And I'm talking about it being aggressive. Now, there was no word said at first. It was literally just a look or a glance. And that person attacked with authority. Now, I don't want to get into exact details of what happened. I just want to say that it got ugly for no reason. And the party that was looking over at said person that felt offended was not really trying to have a problem or fight, and even said, listen, I checked my surroundings. I've lived in this neighborhood all my life. This is normal for me. It wasn't the greatest neighborhood. It makes sense. But the person that came over there was looking for an altercation. They were looking for it. It got to the point where it's like, well, if a person says that they were not trying to beef with you and they didn't have any issues with you, and you keep pushing the envelope, whether they agreed or disagree with your lifestyle or whatever's going on in your life, but didn't vocalize anything, didn't say anything to you, I mean, listen, eyes are made to look. And they just weren't having it. They were not having it. It got to the point where it got physical. And a woman was hurt because of it. Now, the person that was hurt didn't want to press charges, but they did call the cops. And in the end, the girl got arrested. Now, it's said that this happened for a number of reasons. Now, yes, if somebody disagreed with whatever is going on in your life or however they feel about you, and they did say something to you, now, you could approach them and have an argument about it. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with arguing your point or arguing how you feel, or if somebody tried to offend you, you're completely allowed to defend your honor. But at what point do you entertain danger? At what point do you entertain the likeliness of the person who maybe instigated it is willing to do a lot more than just talk, right? Whether you're right or wrong, that's null and void. But you're in public. You don't know what you're getting involved in. And where having an argument or having an opinion could get you possibly killed. Now, we always pick our battles wisely. Because for one, it's going to take the energy out of you. It's going to take every ounce of who you are inside. It's going to drain you. Fighting never feels good. And I'm not saying fighting is wrong, per se. There's times to fight, and there's times to walk away, right? Choose your battles wisely. And it's just an ugly situation as a whole. But I want you guys to understand that there are going to be a lot of people in this world that even if it's blatantly obvious what the right thing is versus the wrong thing, but they choose the wrong thing, there's nothing that you're going to do to change their mind. I don't care what proof you have. I don't care what evidence you have. Whatever it is, some people just do not want to see the right thing. They are willing to be ignorant in how they feel, and that's fine. And in the end of the day, it's still their right to be dumb, ignorant, or ignore that there is a fact that could change their opinion. That's just how it is. It's how the world works. But I don't want you guys out there doing that. There are also ways to fight your battles in a better, on a higher road, in a safer way. Going the physical route is, for one, going to get you in trouble possibly because maybe you might be the aggressor and that person might be very passive. They might call the cops and you say, yo, you're being aggressive based on your, they're trying to attack me. You don't want that, right? We don't want that. But let's kick that aside for a second. What if somebody disagrees with you, though? Just on a regular social level. How do you feel? Are you the type of person that if somebody's going to disagree with something that you said or how you feel about something, are you one to argue it to the bone until it becomes an all-out screaming match or a fighting, like to the point where you just make it uncomfortable for everyone around you because you have to argue your point until you win? Even if you are right, are you that person? Or are you the person to nod and hear the other person out and kind of meet in the middle or agree to disagree? What kind of person are you? Is it a personal thing for you? Does it get personal? And it doesn't even have to be about politics. It doesn't even have to be about ways of life. It doesn't have to be about anything that deep. It could be something silly. It could be anything. Are you that person that always has to have the last say? And even if you know you're right, you need to make sure that other person knows that you're right. Is that you? I'm that way sometimes. I argue some stuff. I won't entertain it all the time, but there are some times I just can't help myself. Especially if it's something factual about some knowledge that I know. And somebody tries to say, no, that's not how it is. I'm like, no. Sometimes I just have to. I try not to do this with strangers. The worst time to do this is with strangers or people around, or be around people that you don't know, because you're going to make a very uncomfortable situation because they're not going to side with you. They're just going to be like, yo, can't you just let it go? And I'm not. And then you look crazy. I've been in scenarios like that. I looked crazy. I looked silly. But something about my ego, my pride, I had to have my say. I had to. I just couldn't help myself. And that's something I work on. But I don't like to feel like I'm one-upping somebody. The only time that it really irks me is when somebody like tries to like throw it in people's faces, or if I see somebody else getting kind of like shitted on by somebody that thinks they know what they're talking about, but they don't, and tries to make that person feel like crap. I'm not one of those people. I don't like to sit on my high horse and look down upon somebody and say, ha, I got you. But there are some people that are asking for it. And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I just can't help myself. I cannot. It's a character flaw. And I don't, but you're going to also get that stigma of being the know-it-all, right? Oh, here he comes. Drew the know-it-all. This asshole. Not good. It's not good. It really isn't. What I've learned is to keep your mouth shut sometimes, because chances are you're not going to be received well. And if the message does not get received well, it has been lost and wasted. It's like a parent talking to their child about what to do and what not to do. And the parent knows the right thing to do in a certain scenario, and the child does not. But the child is never going to hear you out, because the child has their own philosophy on how they do things. And their friends are there supporting. Their friends are there supporting their supporters. So they're going to ignore what the parent says and go back to their friends, and their friends are going to cheer them on and say, no, you were right. Screw your mom or dad. They don't know what they're talking about. That happens. That's just how it is sometimes. So the parent loses. The parent does what the parent's supposed to do, right? Encourage good stuff and discourage the bad stuff. But the child is going to be defiant. All right. The child is always going to be defiant, especially at a young age, adolescence. This is cool. It may not be right, but this is cool. I was there. I did dumb stuff too. But in the end, as an adult, as I grew, and I see youngsters doing the things that they do, and it's like, oh, they're not going to hear you out. So if they're not engaged in wanting to know the truth or wanting to know how to do something properly, they're going to let it fly over their heads, and they're not even going to receive the message well, and they're not going to like you, or they're going to be mad at you. And this is the same thing that goes with strangers. When they have their own opinion, they're set in stone and they are not willing to meet you in the middle. That's why I say, don't entertain every conversation, even though you know the right answer. Because the worst type of advice or information is one that is not asked for. And people will get really pissed off at you. And then you look like an asshole. Especially around people you don't know. Or maybe at work. Work is a really good example. There are a lot of people that don't know you outside of work. And you might be cool with maybe a couple of people. But having conversations about things that you might know about and spitting some real information, real facts about stuff, and people are like, oh, that's cool. What a know-it-all asshole. I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. I've been there. It does happen. It really does. There are people that are not going to receive what you're saying well. So the message gets lost. You wasted time. And then you're probably going to alienate yourself. And that's not good. Sometimes you just got to sit neutral. You really do. You have to sit neutral and you have to kind of play the game. And it's hard. It's hard to be that way. Now with your home, your home crowd, your peoples, the people you hang out with all the time that you have a good rapport with and know you well, you could do that. You can have shouting matches because there's love there. There's an understanding. They have a good scope of you. But don't waste your time with people you don't know. Definitely don't do it with strangers off the street because you don't know what you're going to get involved in. And what I saw the other day it was horrific. And those girls were really lucky. It could have been uglier. A complete misunderstanding on both sides could have turned super ugly. And regardless of whoever was right or wrong, we're adults. It breaks my heart to see that. It breaks my heart. It really does. It's not fun seeing people hurt each other. It really isn't. It really is not at all. And seeing that this week just made me think about it. And I was like, I have to talk to you guys about this. This is definitely something we could talk about on the show. Not agreeing with somebody or disagreeing with somebody and how you handle it. And if somebody was to give you, if you were maybe on the other side of it and somebody tried to give you some information, how would you receive it? Would you be receptive to it? Or would you be shut out to it because you don't know this person? And you know whether they're right or wrong. What do you do? What do you say? Do you accept it? Do you do some research on it? And do you acknowledge, hey, this person has some great information. Would you befriend this person? Gotta ask these questions. It's always good to be willing to see somebody in a different light. I think I'm very receptive, even if I don't know somebody, but if they have good information, I'll entertain it. I will if it's good. But it also comes down to, is this person credible enough, right? Because you might even entertain it if the person's not credible. But I was just curious what everybody's take on this was, because this is we live in a world where people are constantly debating left and right. Who's this? Who's that? Who's in the middle? There's conspiracies out there, right? Listen, I don't need to school anybody on this. We have the internet. This is 2021. There are so many opinions floating around, so many blogs, so many podcasts. Social media is filled with memes. Everybody has an opinion, right? It's true. I'm just curious how receptive everyone is to this. Let me know. Shoot me an email. Hit me up on Instagram. DM me. I want to know everybody's opinion. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I love you all. And be safe out there and keep your opinions to yourself. And I'm kidding. Love you. Bye.